Hello, hello, my Black History book lovers. I am really delayed in doing this year's Black History book reading for children, and I do apologize. My intention was to have all of these books read for you, but things came up and I was rather delayed, and so here I am. I am doing them now, but I think any time is a great time to read books because, first of all, Black History is 365, 366, and because we are in a time when many of these stories are very important to us as a community, as well as to those who desire to embrace the knowledge of our contributions to American history. And the truth is, all Americans, we should desire to learn about one another and not just our own community, but we should be aware of what has happened and what has taken place in our community. So here we have is a book written by Willie Mae Brown titled My Selma, and this is a book you may want to pick up for the young people in your family, or you may want to add it to your own personal collection so that when those young people, those little people, come to visit you, they have a book that they can read when they are visiting you. That's one of the things I think is so important. A lot of times we forget when we have children come and visit us or stay with us to have things that they can enjoy. People may have toys, I don't know, but also to have a collection of books for young readers. We want to promote reading in our community. That should be something we strive to do, no matter what the age is. Coming out of the womb, children should be read to and encouraged to begin reading at 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, because learning is a continual process and we are always gathering in information. So, with that being said, this time, because I have a number of books to read, I will not spend as much time reading one book because I'm doing all of these books trying to play catch up. So, we will begin this particular book, My Selma. We will start with the preface and then move on into two chapters, small portions from two of the chapters. And so she begins. I write these stories of a Selma that I knew and loved, my own Selma. A Selma that brought me joy, troubled me, and baptized me into racial injustice and into the race for justice. I write these stories through the voices of people who lived at the time when I was growing up in Selma. And we lived together, schooled together, played together, churched together, and fought together for the same rights as our white brethren who denied us the freedom we were born with, and the civil rights freedoms of a people separated by color, ignored by color, despised by color, abused by color, murdered by color. But the color would not fade easily in Selma. And that color would not run when it rained, and that color did not mix with the white because it stood out when it should have known its place in the South. I write from voices in my memory. I write from being nosy. I write to record the truth about the white people who lived among us. And although in Selma we outnumbered them, they outweighed us because of their color. And let this be known, not all whites in Selma, Alabama, were hateful, but for many of them, their color was a color of pure, clean hatred. I write about Selma because our lives have historical precedence in shaping the future. I write so that you may hear, see, smell, and feel the injustice of ignorance, but also the sweetness of everyday life illuminated in my words. In my stories of Selma, Much is written in the dialect of the people living there, words I still hear in my head. I thought this was important because it gives flavor to the truth. Many things played out behind closed doors in Selma and inside my home as the civil rights movement came together outside in the streets. Come with me and look back on a time when men hunted men for game, when the law was always on the side of white. Wait, everyone has his or her memories of a place and time, when and where they lived. Everyone experiences different things in their own town, their cities, and their states. No two people will have the exact same memories. Everybody has their Selma. This is my Selma. I knew what was going on. My Selma. My Selma was a place that emitted the rich, clean odor of black dirt and sour clay, that smelled of sage pork sausage, ham, and biscuits, the breakfast scents, all blowing through dew-covered Johnson grass and across foggy highways at 5 a.m. on any morning. We sometimes went barefoot outdoors, leaving our shoes up on the porch in case the ground was unbearable. Selma's weather could be hot enough in the summer to blister bare feet on a sizzling sandy sidewalk, or so cold in winter that rag-covered water pipes burst under houses, creating miniature ice castles in the dark. My Selma was beautiful, with fields of white cotton, corn, long sweet potato vines, and watermelon patches, with untamed land in abundance, thickets where no man had ever walked, and red clay roads where wild game crossed with hunters and dogs in high pursuit. The sounds of Selma were the late-night lonely whistle of the L&N railroad trains coming and going, rumbling across the sidings on Lower Range Street, not far from our house. And in the mornings, cocks crowing to help raise up the morning sun as citizens prepared themselves for school, work, or church. Radios played the sound of Wilson Pickett, Tyrone Davis, Johnny Ace, Mahalia Jackson, and Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. Sorry about that. Don't know where the Vanderbilts came from, but the Vandellas. Sunday mornings were dedicated to religious music on those same radios, and to Brown family drives in the country, crowded in the back seat of our Chevrolet station wagon with my three older siblings, Nunchi, Ben, and Lavinia. I'm assuming that's how you say that name. And my younger sister, Chauncey, in front with Mama and Da, to Orville, Alabama, 22 miles away from Selma, to attend John the Baptist Church and visit my three mischievous cousins, my quiet Uncle Lot, and my wonderful full body, smelling good like food, pillow soft bosomed Aunt Sister, who loved to rock Chauncey to sleep on her front porch in her straight back rocking chair. From the car window, I could survey the Selma I knew and loved. Barns with grains and storage, and freshly picked cotton for quilt making, sacks of down feathers plucked from pheasants, chickens, and geese, bales of hay in stacks, and root cellars stocked with ball jars of fruit preserves and freshly canned vegetables put away in the fall as reserve. And on the sides of the barns, salt licks for the cows in the fields. Beside the barns, our smokehouses were laden with cured hams, beef, and pork shoulders. Once the fire was lit, our smokehouses were never unattended. At dusk, or even in the night, if the men folk weren't gathered around the fires, sipping drinks, smoking tobacco, joking and gossiping, ghosts and hants of our families past kept watch, still resisting the call from the other side. Sundays were special in Selma, and everyone knew just about where everyone else was or was supposed to be. Either you were home or you were in church. On Sundays, it was only home or church, even for my older brother. I knew, I know the Selma where Sunday dinners were prepared, starting at 6 in the morning, as the breakfast dishes were being washed. Supper started at 4:30 in the afternoon, with the trays of biscuits passed around, dripping with butter and laced with fig preserves, cradling the middle. Visiting preachers and deacons who were also our teachers at Payne School, Knox Academy, and R&B Hudson High School, joined us at our tables to speak with us about what was going on in Selma. The clergy enjoyed Mama's wholesome cooking and tried to show good manners by asking for just one more biscuit, please, wanting more, yet setting an example at the dinner table for the children, their students. One of our teachers was the Reverend Frederick Douglass Reese of Ebenezer Baptist Church, who would baptize me when I was made ready at the age of 12. In 1964, Reverend Reese was president of the Dallas County Voters League. And in 1965, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. supported his effort to protest against the suppression of Black voting rights by coming to Selma. Selma's youth were mostly proud and obedient. We attended church on Sundays and respected our elders and our teachers, and we never begged and were willing to do work, no matter how menial, to help provide for ourselves and our families. Reverend Reese's sermons on many occasions addressed the youth of Selma as he verbally applauded us for our good behavior. We'll skip over to a baptism. On Sundays, the doors to Selma churches were opened wide and people could be seen making their way to service. Organ music filled the neighborhoods and guided the parishioners on their way, bringing with them all their concerns of the weeks past through the doors of the church and placing them in prayer before the altar. New worries, old problems, sickness, gratitude, and uncertainty found their way to the church in shined shoes and pressed hair as fancy clothes turned heads and Avon sachet powder scents blew through the air, giving the church a fresh start on the morning. The preacher welcomed everyone to come just as you are, while the choir hummed the words to come to Jesus, rocking side to side as the people made their way to their seats. And now, Selmians were hearing a different kind of preaching on Sunday mornings, because the time for change had come. And Selma was beginning to embark on a movement of nonviolence with a campaign for equal rights. Selmians had decided to begin pressing the government to desegregate the schools and to allow Negroes the rights to register and vote. I started watching more news reporting on television to enhance my awareness of the movement. We owned a Sylvania TV and a telephone. We had a ringer washer machine, too. A new room had been added onto our house and painted. I do not recall a time when we did not have a truck or car. We also had newspaper subscription and delivery, and a subscription to Johnson Publishing Company magazines. Our family had Life of Georgia insurance on everyone in our home. Da was a member of the Lodge of Freemasons, and Mama was an Eastern Star usher. Our faith was Baptist, and we all attended John the Baptist Church in Orville when Da could drive us, and Ebenezer Baptist Church in Selma when we needed to walk to a church closer to home. My three older siblings were baptized in the river behind John the Baptist Church in Orville. The day before they were baptized, Lou, Ben, and Nunchi were bathed from head to foot and kept in a room and prayed over nearly all night. They could not talk or look out the window or fidget too much. No television. They had water and some bread to eat, and Grandma was one of the praying people in the room with them. The day they were going to be baptized at St. John and the Baptist, I was not invited to go to church. So Grandma told me what would happen. She said Reverend Belvins will meet everyone at church at 10 a.m. and they will all have prayer and blessings. From there, a procession of people will walk to the lake all dressed in white and meet the pastor, who will be standing in the lake, and he will call each person in the line by name. Then he will receive them in the water and take them under, because you have to go under the water to be saved, and the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost Spirit, put in you, which will save them, give them a new life. After the baptism, the saved ones were prayed over again and then fed a proper meal. And for 1 week, they had to be righteous. And after that, sin no more. I was glad that it was all going to be over soon. And although I would miss watching television with my siblings, especially the Johnny Carson show each night, at least I would have someone to talk to again. When I heard Grandma say that Reverend Belvins in Orville had asked my sisters and brothers not to sin anymore, that stayed on my mind. I decided to call Ebenezer Baptist in Selma and ask them if I could get myself baptized. The deacons who answered the phone, or the deaconess who answered the phone, said that I could and that it would not be held back from me if I wanted to do it, and that she would not mention it to my mother, but I should. She said that she would talk it over with Reverend Reese, and if he said that it was okay, which he probably would, because this was the Lord talking through me to be baptized as soon as possible, Reverend Reese would perform the ceremony. I asked her if I had to be prayed over all night and stay in a locked room. She said that would not be necessary. Reverend Reese was a preacher of modern days. She said it was the right thing to do because no one wanted to die and go to hell. And to me, being in Selma was a form of hell. So I walked the few blocks to meet the women at Ebenezer one morning during the week and signed my certificate to be baptized. I had to stay one step ahead of Satan before I became a teenager and before I marched for freedom and civil rights or engaged in a sit-in. I was baptized in Selma by Reverend Frederick Douglass Reese, saved I had taken the responsibility of getting baptized because I felt that my mother was taking her time in saving me in the water behind St. John the Baptist Church. After baptism, I received my certificate, but didn't show it to my mother until I thought she was ready to see it, or when I felt she was fixin' to have me ducked under the water with all those snakes and people constantly praying in my ear. Weeks passed, and one day I showed her my certificate. She was happy. Well, now we have ourselves an official member of the church in Selma. Save some money so you can pay your tithes, she said. So, once again, this is My Selma, written by Willie Mae Brown, and it is a book that you may want to add to your collection for your young people. And I believe this is the second book that we have featured about Selma, Alabama. So I think last year we had a book that we did about Selma, Alabama, another young writer who, she wasn't a young writer when she tells the story, but it is about her life when she was a young person. In fact, she was the youngest person on the walk from Selma to um, on that long walk to Birmingham. So, Birmingham, Montgomery, Birmingham, I believe. That's a shame. I should remember. But anyway, this is the second book that we've done. And so, like I said, I picked this one up from a local library here in the Houston area over in Pearland. I think I said that at the beginning of this video. So you might be able to find this book. If not this book, I'm sure you can find plenty of other wonderful books that you can share with your young people in your life that is talking about our history and our culture. And so while this may not be a book that may make the history books, it is a book that shows the culture of our community. And that is equally important. Not only do we want to know about those historical figures, our heroes and sheroes, but also those books that share our culture, the diversity of Black culture. And one of the great things about Black culture is that the church has played such a significant role since before we came to this land. Religion and faith, Christianity, in fact, has played a strong role, even in our ancestors from across the ocean. Christianity played a role in their lives. And I'm not talking about the enslavement, but also that all the way along the Western coast, for people who only think that Christianity was in the North or in Abyssinian, that is not the case. We have documented proof that Christianity made its way all the way down to Angola long before the African or the European Atlantic slave trade. So our culture has been deeply rooted in the Christian faith and in the church. And this is a book that I think you would enjoy, sharing about our culture and also the influence of our faith in our culture, or Christianity in our faith. Okay, so that is that book, and we'll have some other books that we will be sharing with you. I hope you enjoyed this one, and check us out on the other books that we are getting to you. I am so many months behind, but we are getting these books to you, and hopefully you will pick them up, put them into your library, or share them with your young people in your life. And it's not just for Black people. Anyone can enjoy these books. As I said earlier, we want to all embrace the culture of our nation, and that is the beauty and diversity of our cultures that we share and that we should learn about. So have a wonderful one and continue to learn.